proposition. In 1938, Democratic theorist Robert Dahl described the Electoral College as a system that does not protect the interests of small states or racial minorities, nor does it serve as the bastion for federalism. Which is why the proposition proudly affirms the motion that states, "This House believes that the United States Electoral College should be abolished." First of all, what is Electoral College? The Electoral College system has been around for several hundreds of years and was created in a time when votes were more difficult to collect and count. This particular system gives each state a number of electors equal to the combined total of its Senate and membership of House of Representatives. During today's debate, I will be doing three things. First, I'll be defining some key terms in the motion. Next, I'll be addressing the burden of the opposing team. And last, I'll be stating the several arguments on why you should vote a proposition on today's debate. We would like to start off by defining the word abolished, as to formally put an end to or eliminate from existence. Moving on to the opposition's burden, which is to provide unique and specific reasons as to why Electoral College should be kept, along with, if including any plans of reformation, to state past instances and examples when the reforming of an Electoral College system worked to benefit the country and its people. Our substantive 1 is how, under the Electoral College system, a false democracy leads to unfair voting. In addition to 2016, there have been 4 other times in American history, such as 1824, 1876, 1888, and the year 2000, when the candidate who won the Electoral College lost the national popular vote. Each time, a Democratic presidential candidate lost the election due to this system. Yet, the United States claims to be a democracy, and if so, then why would we only allow 538 votes to really matter? The system is set up in a way that does not truly allow all of the people to get a vote, enabling only states such as Florida and California to dominate the voting polls. Essentially, the people of the United States are only voting for representatives of each state, and the presidential candidates only have 270 people to win over, not the rest of the country's votes that supposedly are meant to matter. Another argument falling under the false democracy category would be that those that affirm Electoral College state that without it, rural areas will be ignored and not taken into consideration. This assertion is simply misleading because the reality is that presidential candidates don't campaign in rural areas no matter what system is used, simply because there are not a lot of votes to be gained in these specific areas. Therefore, the Electoral College system that does not create a national campaign that is inclusive of the rural areas within the country, but in fact, it does just the opposite. National popular will has been one of the main issues of the electoral voting system, and many critics and researchers argue that under the system, the initial goal of the United States, which is to give the power and voices over to the people to be noticed and heard, is not being attained at all under this system. Thus, failing to accurately reflect the national popular will, the argument goes that the Electoral College reinforces a two-party system, discourages third-party or independent candidates, and thereby tends to restrict choices available to electorate. This moves us on to our substantive number 2. that the Electoral College voting system is by far outdated, and the majority of the people of the United States want it to be diminished. Although he won the 2016 presidential election due to the electoral votes, even Mr. Trump himself stated that I would rather see you go with simple votes. You know, you get 100 million votes and somebody else gets 90 million votes and you win. The reason this system was created by the founding fathers in the first place was to structurally give a bit more power to the smaller states, along with to create a buffer between population and the selection of a president. Alexander Hamilton, along with other founders, believed that the population would and could not make the right choice, as we are easily manipulated, and the fear of a tyrant uprising could easily happen under only popular vote, which is why we cannot be trusted. This falls out of question in recent years because not only has technology vastly improved and given citizens of the United States more information about the candidates to ensure they make the right choice, but the fear of a powerful and manipulative tyrant is completely out of reach because the most valued aspect in the United States of America is the power of the people. The electoral system itself creates a higher chance of backlash and protests from the people because if the candidate only wins the majority of the electoral vote and less than half of the country wants him or her to be president, then the risk of a violent uprising from the majority of the population that has been constantly ignored could potentially happen, and thus this could lead to many unnecessary consequences. These violent and abusive protests were seen throughout the nation when Donald Trump was elected as president in November, even though he lost on popular vote and won on the electoral side. We need to give the power back to the people and allow them to be heard again. But under the electoral system, the American dream of being heard and listened to is lost forever. The best way to solve a problem is to admit that you have one in the first place, which is why we stand with the proposition and we proudly affirm today's motion. Thank you.